In this video, I want to talk about the Scorpio energy in its evolved and unevolved forms. So I'm a Scorpio Sun, Mercury, Venus, and Pluto. So three of my personal planets, being the inner planets, that includes the Sun, um, are in Scorpio, which is the highly intense, deep feeling, very driven energy. My rising sign, meaning my appearance sign or ascendant, is in Gemini, which is an air sign. My Mars energy is in Libra, which is another air sign. And then my moon is actually in the third air sign of Aquarius. So I have a lot of air in my chart, but I still um, carry my Scorpio energy very heavily for all those who know me very well. So I want to speak on this subject as I've been really contemplating the nature of transformation, personal transformation, and self-evolution. So as Scorpio energy is the very driven, deep feeling, deeply caring, loyal energy. If you imagine someone who carries those characteristics, realizing that not everyone else responds to things or feels things so deeply or sees everyone as so valuable, and perhaps not everyone is as sensitive as you are. Imagine how you would feel if you grow up around many people who continue to seem to not value your sensitivity or complain about it, say you're too sensitive, or who inadvertently hurt you and don't understand why you're upset. And when you blow up at them, they just back off. This is Scorpio in its early stages, in its unevolved forms. This is how a Scorpio grows up. um, we respond to the world in a very intense and often very black and white way. Even though I have a lot of air in my chart, which would mean that I think a lot, which I do enormously, think so much about everything, especially my emotional state being more detached and analytical, such as Aquarius. Um, I cannot help but continually be hurt or feel hurt by people unintentionally or intentionally hurting me through various means, through feeling left out or through being lied to, which is the number one why a Scorpio gets vengeful or backs away. But to become a more evolved form of Scorpio energy and to carry that means to recognize that the truth behind feeling that way, the truth behind what's happening, is simply that you do carry things deeper and more intensely and more personally. And it doesn't mean it's wrong, but it also doesn't mean that the people who don't carry things as deeply are wrong. So the evolved Scorpio energy detaches in a way from what it's initially feeling to be able to observe and respond rather than react. So I wanted to talk about that as that's a personal discipline I'm making for myself these days. In the recent Mars retrograde, late spring 2016 through midsummer, if you were a Scorpio or if you had a lot of that energy and you found yourself exploding at or lashing out at your closest relationships, your closest friends and loved ones, Mars retrograde in Scorpio is all I have to say. I did this consistently and I learned lots of lessons in hard ways from it. Um, I am surrounded by beautiful people in my life, many who are people like Leos and Aries, and people who have lots of fire. I just love them. I love them dearly. I'm obsessed with Leos. Just so. Um, But I found myself responding to people and assuming that they had meant to hurt me and doing my silent treatment and, you know, uh, whipping around and saying a one liner meant to hurt them because I thought they intentionally had hurt me. And it was a test to my friendships and my relationships. And what I learned from that was that I was reacting to feeling hurt, which is a very real thing for a Scorpio to feel very hurt. But because that feeling's there, it can mask that what the truth behind it actually is that the person just isn't going to the level you're going to. So as a Scorpio, if you're a Scorpio watching this video, or if you know of Scorpios, we hear someone say something and we think that it has 12 meanings. Most other people don't go there. We are always going all the way the hell there. So that's where, in order to take on more evolved energy and not get stuck in the lower level energy of it, right, where we're constantly stinging in self-defense because we think that we're being hurt, is to hear what someone says, to watch their actions, to sit with the feeling of being hurt, and rather than react, to think through, okay, so I know that I don't have all the information. So rather than respond to how I feel, and I guess you could say my Aquarius moon is helping here because that's a normally very tough relationship, Scorpio and Aquarius together in a chart. But I've had to work with it. And I find that Aquarius helps me detach and see things from 25,000 foot view, at least I'm trying. And that to become a more evolved Scorpio, I have to stop, I have to be patient with myself and recognize that I do get hurt by people very easily. It doesn't make me wrong. It doesn't mean there's something wrong with me. I'm just a very emotional, intense, and real person. Meaning real as in authentic. I want to show someone, in a way, I want to show my loved ones, hey, I've been hurt by what you said. The problem with that comes in trying to be honest with them. Meanwhile, these loved ones could be really taken aback that I felt so hurt. And often feel like I totally misunderstood them. And in most cases, I had. Now, the trouble comes where I'm hearing an ulterior motive in their tone of voice or in different things that could actually be true and something that I recognize about them that I've just never told them that I would think they would see about themselves. Because as a Scorpio, we are often, if we're trying to be better, we're often intensely self-analyzing ourselves and trying to be self-aware and seeing, okay, how did I react to that? So we expect the same of other people. The problem is most other people aren't going to do that. So here comes the detached compassion for a Scorpio who wants to live at a higher level. As one who strives to live in a higher form of that energy, I find that rather than reacting to them and rather than trying to share my true feelings with them, my real self, right, rather than staying silent and feeling the anger inside, I want to say it out loud to them. Over and over again, I find that's mostly not helpful. As a Scorpio, our challenge is to take what we have received and ask ourselves if we're going to bother staying upset about something. And if we are, we better communicate it with that person in a way where we can actually work it out. And not just to react, to actually respond and to create a dialogue and say, hey, I was hurt, I know you didn't mean it. To learn how to communicate that way, to let the hurt feelings become clear communication that helps others understand us. That takes a lot of vulnerability that many of us aren't willing to do. So if we're not in that space to do that, then at least if we can take a step back before we react to someone, before we say something that we know could really hurt them, and maybe perhaps just recognize that people aren't always out to get us. So again, as someone with lots of Scorpio energy, I've struggled with this my entire life, feeling misunderstood, feeling like I'm reacting too much to people, beating myself up for that, wishing that I could be different. And in my late 20s, I've given up trying to be different because I'm wonderful the way I'm made and that I am. And when you recognize that you have the same things you're working with, you have to start working on how you're going to save your energy for things that are more important. And as a Scorpio, we know that the things that are most important to us is our loved ones and people that we really care about. So in order to really care about others, we have to care for ourselves first. Hey, baby. My cat's down here on Tars. So I just wanted to put that word out. We feel deeply, we think miles deep about things, and it doesn't help us for others to tell us it's not that complicated, because it is for us. So let's take care of ourselves, and let's focus on being better to ourselves, and recognize that not everyone thinks we're so terrible as maybe we do. And as soon as we start viewing ourselves more positively, having more patience with ourselves, and taking a step back each time we feel something, we can recognize that we can live into a higher energy. That's what I'm trying to do, and perhaps someone else resonates with this. So be at peace, and look forward to seeing you in my next video.